Hey everyone, what's up? So I thought for this video I would talk a little bit about Flames of War and their new upcoming starter set, also called Open Fire, but it's significantly different this time. I think you guys will be pleased with it as much as I am. So my history with Flames of War, once again, about a year ago when I got into Dork Club and things like that, I had been looking into some miniatures games. Well, probably around this time last year, maybe, a older gentleman was nice enough to bring in a World War II miniatures game where we used little metal miniatures and we played Germans against Americans, and he had some nice terrain and everything looked really nice. It was fun. I remember, I think that was my first real sort of miniatures game I played like that. And he had given us rule sheet and stuff, but one thing I learned is it's hard on the spot to teach people war game rules, or at least people like me. Uh, I I couldn't figure out, even though we had like a sheet with the rules and stuff, like I couldn't figure the stuff out really that much. But that didn't keep me from having fun with it. It was a really fun game, and so I had wanted some World War II miniatures. I looked at a couple different options. The problem was that a lot of miniatures, especially things like Games Workshop, a lot of big miniature companies are overseas in like the UK and things like that. At least in my experience, that's what I found. So the problem is the amount of shipping time and also the total cost, because not only do you have currency conversion, which buying from other countries, especially how the US dollar is now, that can be bad, and you can end up paying quite a bit more. So that wasn't really an option. I had found Flames of War, but the problem was looking at the miniatures. They were not very pretty. Now, granted, Warhammer miniatures are this big. A Flames of War miniature is a little bit smaller than the base. So about half the size of this guy, probably, so like up to here. So granted, you're only going to get so much detail on it, right? Well, they weren't very pretty miniatures, to be honest, and I really didn't want what they call the pumpkin face miniature, where it has like really round face and stuff, and it kind of just looks ridiculous. Granted, they're small, and maybe you don't look at that a lot, but when you're taking up close pictures and stuff, you want a nice looking miniature. Well, Professor Porter for the Dork Club had mentioned Flames of War again, and they had a new starter set. I was like, yeah, okay, we can do that. Well, I took a look at the new starter set, and judging from what people are saying and sort of comparing the miniatures a little bit, the biggest thing I think they fixed about it was the pumpkin face issue. I noticed some of the Germans didn't have it as much. They seemed to give them a more slender face in the miniatures, I think. And looking through the box set, the pictures that they provided, it seems they have fixed that problem. I'm not sure. I think it said something about they might have used a new process and things like that, and they really wanted to make a nice set. So I'm going to look into it. I'm excited because if they start doing the rest of their miniatures this way and fixing sort of the face problem, and it looks like they have a lot of good added detail, especially for 15mm size miniatures, then yeah, Flames of War could become more popular because, the miniatures are more attractive. And it looks like they're going to be making the change for at least infantry, if not, maybe more stuff. Instead of using the metal, they're going to move over to the plastics and things like that. So that's sort of my history with the game, and I am wanting to get one of these starter boxes. It's going to release on October 27th, I believe. So if you're looking for a good Halloween gift, this might be a good option. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the contents as well as some of the miniatures and give you a more detailed overview for those of you who may be looking for one and haven't quite gotten that yet. So we're going to go ahead and look at some pictures here. First we'll start with the cover art. Of course, I like the cover art. You know, it's nice, and I am a fan of World War II, especially, so I like that they have the Browning machine gun, the Thompson, and the bazookas, and, you know, they have the British over here as well. They did a nice job with it. The artwork looks really nice, you know? So that's good, and that's attractive. But what we're really looking for here, if you look at the bottom left and the bottom right, it tells us what comes in the box. Now, what I ended up finding with this, it comes with about 800 points for each side, which is just below the recommended sort of minimum force, which is about 700 to 1,000. But this is, excuse me, this is not counting maybe any upgrades or anything you might have with it, which we'll talk about later. So that was nice. Another thing I noticed, the unit composition. It gives you two sort of, I guess, different play styles. Of course, you're going to have that with different factions, but by that I mean you have 6 Sherman tanks for the American and British forces. You have 2 Firefly tanks, which are like tank hunters, and you have about 32 paratroopers. So what you're going to be looking at on the British-American side is a more tank-heavy or tank-reliant list. And on the German side, you have about around 73 or 75 grenadiers in the 70s there. You get 2 PaK-40 anti-tank guns and 3 Stugs, or Stugs, however you want to pronounce it. I think it's Stugs. So, and that equals about 800 points too. So I really like that they included a lot more stuff. It's an actual starter set, because the other starter set that I think was called Open Fire as well, it came with 5 tanks total. One side got 2 tanks and the other got 3. Now granted, it was cheap, and maybe a good way to get started for people with less money, because it was only $20 or $25, and I think you can still get it. But most people that get started in a game, like with Warhammer and stuff, you want something you can actually fight with when you're going to buy it. Now granted, you can buy companies and stuff, but one thing you sort of learn as you do your research is that you don't just want to buy a company or platoon or whatever it is, because there are certain lists and certain eras and things like that, and we can go over that another time. But right now we're just kind of sort of focus on the starter set. So anyway, you get 800 points per side, just about. Looking at the back of the box, shows all your miniatures here. It looks pretty small. 800, I think 800 would be maybe right around company size, I believe. We'll look at that a little bit more later. But as you can see, you get some nice miniatures there. And of course, we're going to look at some more detailed pictures and just sort of review those quickly. Of course, you get a 52-page quick start guide, a 296-page full color rulebook, and the miniatures altogether, it says more than 118 of them. And you also get some cardboard terrain, this little flying plane thing over there in the corner, the V1 flying bomb. And you also are going to get your tokens, your objective markers, which are sort of the cardboard markers. You're also going to get 20 dice as well in your army list. So looking at some more photos here, and I'll just kind of have some going through here quickly. You can look at some of the Sherman tanks, the Stugs, some of the infantry, and especially on the infantry, you notice they don't have that pumpkin face I was really talking about. Some of them have a little more rounded face, but it's like a natural round, where some of them have a more angular gaunt to them. But it's clear to see this was done on purpose. This was not done because of restrictions in being able to do detail. And of course, if you look at them, whether you look at the German forces or the American, they are painted really nice. They are sculpted very nicely. The tanks look nice. I heard there was maybe a little bit a difficulty in putting the tanks that were plastic together, but I wouldn't know from personal experience yet. Okay, so the question is, do you want to buy the starter set? Right now, I'm going to talk to more of the newbies, like myself, because if you're a veteran of this or you've already played it, you've probably got what you want out of this review. However, if you're experienced with this and you want to leave some comments below, that would be wonderful. All the help we can get, even if it's past the release date, of this video. Any comments we can get would help, because people are going to be buying this, I'm sure, for quite some time. It's a nice set. So anyway, let's talk about Flames of War. We have 3 different eras. You have the early war, the mid-war, and the late war period. All of these will use different figures and sculpts and things like that. Some forces cannot be used in early or mid-war, and they can be used in late. Or maybe they can be used in early and not mid or late, etc. That's how the system works. Now, for each of these periods, how I understand it, you are going to need a different sort of rule book, sort of like a codex, I guess you could say, in Warhammer terms, which list, what kind of units or companies or platoons can you make, because the effectiveness of each army changes over the war. Now, of course, they are going to balance things out, which is nice. So, if you like Germans in one period, you can still play Germans in another. Their force is going to be different, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's totally bad. But it depends. So, if you're a new player, what you have to consider with open fire is this is a purely late war period figures, models, rules. Okay. So, if you want to play early or mid-war, this may be a bit of a problem for you. That is sort of the technical, what you would think about things. Now we're going to talk about personal opinion. Let's break this set down. You get 296 page rulebook, a quick start guide. You get 1,600 points total worth of figures. You get your dice and your tokens. For $70, you can't go wrong with that. You just can't. Because, if you want to start a new army, you have to have your regular rule book, which you're probably, let's say you buy the other starter set, which has some dice, the rule book, and like 5 tanks. Well, there's $25. You're probably going to have to buy one of the period piece books, which is going to be another $60 US. And you're going to have to, you can start with a platoon for around 25, but I'd probably go ahead and invest in a company, which is going to be anywhere from $60 to $70. So it's going to be, in this economy at least, it is going to be more to get started separately. Now, if you're a very historic person and you're like die hard one of these other eras and you're just like, I do not want to play late war, then maybe you want to go that route. But breaking the value down of this set, to me, there is no reason why you shouldn't get it. And of course, if you want to like proxy this out and say, these riflemen are going to be early or mid-era or whatever, with your friends and stuff, you can do that. Tournament-wise, what I'm hearing at least, you don't want to do anything like that. You want to make sure you have the right units and things like that. But honestly, late war period, I would say, is probably, at least in my opinion, everyone knows the most probably about the late war period. Mid and late is sort of when America started getting involved a little bit more. So honestly, the value for the set, even if you decide you don't want to get started in this period, Um, there's no reason why you shouldn't buy this set. There's pretty much just not, especially for the price. It's an amazing price. The sculpts look much better. If there's anything you don't want from this set, go ahead and sell it. Keep the dice and the tokens and the rule book, right? Especially the thing is, depending on how much you do your research, you do not want to totally dive into a game without trying it, because you may find that you don't like it. With me personally, I started with Warhammer. I got a Battle Force, and I've been piecing that together, but I know I like the game. I like the miniatures, and I just really wanted to play it, for me. Now, you may find that you don't like Flames of War all that much, so $70 and saving all that extra that you're going to spend on an army and you may not like it, $70 is definitely a better deal, right? If you do know that you like the game, you can do more research into the other eras, but overall, considering everything, I would say there's no reason, if you're starting out, why you wouldn't want to get this box. Even if it is late war, you're going to have, if you're just buying it for yourself, you're going to have 2 different starter forces that are a good amount of points you can play with. You're going to get to test out playing styles. You can expand one or both. So if you're getting started, even considering that, and even considering if you want to get another company or platoon, there's no reason not to get this. No reason not to. It's a great starter set. The figures look great. You get your rule book and your dice and everything like that. So it's a great starter set. I give you applause to the guys behind Flames of War. This starter set is a lot better than the other one. I would still like them to keep the other starter set, just in case, some people maybe just want to pay that $10 and then their friend goes in for $15 or whatever, and maybe try a little bit of the rules out. But overall, if you're looking to get into Flames of War, no reason not to get this, and I'd highly encourage you to.